desperation of Geelong forwards, 3 of them diving in there. And there's a siren.
Well, it was one of the great matches, and the Cats have won by 7 points. Winmar played his heart out. Malcolm Blight went through some tough times here today. Danny Frawley, 28 today, leading the Saints for the first time in a finals match. Gary Ablett, a match he'd rather forget, I think. Tony Lockett, who was magnificent with 9 goals. Devonport can hardly lift himself. And look at Frawley's face, it says it all.
Yeah, a bit of disappointment there for St Kilda. They gave it their best shot. A lot of brave St Kilda players. Gilbert McAdam, one of them. Nicky Winmar, fantastic. Tony Lockett with 9 goals. And Barry Stone, gee, he was magnificent in defence for Geelong. Played a great game at centre-half back, put Stuart Lowe out of business, and also did a good job when he went down on Tony Lockett. Lockett not kicking a goal in that final term. In fact, St Kilda only kicking 1 goal in that final quarter, 1 goal for a very tight quarter. They're very disappointed, St Kilda, so they should be. They've been magnificent all year. I think Danny Frawley there shedding a few tears. A courageous captain, and he can certainly hold his head up high, as can all the St Kilda side. Very disappointing that they have to be out of the finals race after only 1 game.
Well, their fans have had to wait a long time. They weren't disappointed today. They might be disappointed in the result. They should be proud of the way the Saints played. Malakalis, we doubt whether he'll be back later on in September. So, the final scores, it was an epic. And Geelong won by 7 points, 15-14 to 14-13. Behind at half-time, won today by a similar margin, but getting up in a thriller. 15-14, 104, Brownless kicking 8, and Lockett getting 9 for St Kilda, 14-13, 97. It really was one of the great matches, one of the great finals matches we've seen for many, many years. Bernie Quinlan and Peter McKenna. It's a shame we had to have a loser.
It is a shame. St Kilda now bow out, and we don't agree with that system, but still, that's the way it's going to go. But one of the epic battles, Bernie, of all time. And, you know, that last quarter, after all those goals scored in the first 3 quarters, and then it was just a absolute slog, wasn't it, in the finish?
It was down to the real nitty-gritty, wasn't it, in that last quarter? Only 3 goals scored for the entire term, and it was just a real tough, never-say-die effort from Geelong in the last quarter. Both sides, particularly, but Geelong, the players that had been down early, such as Hocking and Couch, 2 of their star players, also Bairstow came into it in the last term, and they certainly found something when it was really required, because their back was against the wall at half-time. As Bruce said, one of the great finals encounters. You didn't see great classy football in that last quarter. As I said, there was only 3 goals scored, but it was just real doer stuff, wasn't it, Pete? They really went at it, both sides. They committed themselves, some of the best tackling you're ever likely to see.
And I think that Malcolm Blight is to be paid credit, because he had to make a bold decision. He had to decide whether to take Stoneham away from centre-half back. He put him on Lockett, and his pace, and a couple of times in the last quarter when St Kilda players would normally have given it to Lockett, they had to go for other options because Stoneham had him covered.
He had him well covered, didn't he?
It's a long kick.
That goal from Stewie Lowe, he had a quiet day also at centre-half forward. But look, I don't know why they've changed this system. I think the final 5 system was fantastic. St Kilda would have had another chance next week, as it is. 1 final game, they're first in 18 years and they're out. There's the final quarter stats. But Geelong getting on top around the centre of the ground. Centre breaks even in that last quarter. Hit-outs fairly even, but the tackling and all that sort of stuff, the hard stuff, the commitment certainly came from both sides. With Geelong, they're better players just coming on top in that last quarter, Pete.
And you'd imagine that the match stats would be pretty even, and as you can see, they certainly are. It was just 2 very even sides slogging it out towards the finish, and just a shame that we did have to have a loser.
Well, we saw Spiro Malakalis coming off the ground a moment ago with his arm wrapped up. Let's see how he was injured in this great match. This is the Malakalis injury. The tackle from Tony Lockett, and down, crunch, and there's a lot of weight on top of Malakalis at that stage. So Malakalis, hopefully for Geelong supporters, he might be back later in the final series. Magnificent game. Gary Hocking, one of the stars, had 7 kicks to half-time, finished with 20 kicks for the match, and Billy Brownless with his 8 goals, and Tony Lockett with his 9 goals. So the Saints, well, they had their chances today, but they certainly gave it their very best shot. For the people that have been with us today and are leaving us to go to Subiaco, we say goodbye. You two are going to have a great game. West Coast against Hawthorn.